The Vorrik Grand Conclave thrummed with low-frequency vibrations, a sound akin to the grinding of tectonic plates. Hundreds of Vorrik delegates, their obsidian exoskeletons gleaming under the dim bioluminescent glow of the chamber's fungal canopy, leaned forward in their thrones of fused alloy. At the center of the circular hall, Warlord Tharn of the 7th Legion stood, his 6 limbs splayed in a posture of challenge, a Vorrik gesture of respect, reserved for those who had survived dishonor. His compound eyes, fractured into thousands of hexagonal facets, flickered with the memory of a battle that had left his legion gutted. "You demand to know why we avoid the colonies of the Terrans," Tharn began, his voice a subsonic growl that rattled the chamber's walls. "Why do we retreat from their settlements despite their fractured governments and primitive tech? Allow me to recount the Siege of Epsilon-9, where my warriors faced not an army, but a ghost." The room fell silent. Even High Arbiter Zeelar, the Conclave's leader, ceased her rhythmic tapping of the Krellstone staff, a sacred relic that amplified Vorrik's telepathic resonance. Her antennae quivered, a sign of deep focus. "It was during the Lyra expansion," Tharn continued, mandibles clicking. "The Vorrik clan sought to claim the outer systems, where resources were abundant and unclaimed. The Terrans had established a mining outpost on Epsilon-9, a desolate moon orbiting a dying gas giant. We deemed them weak scavengers clinging to a rock of frozen silica. My legion was tasked with extermination." He paused, recalling the confidence of his forces. 2,000 heavily armored Vorrik shock troopers, equipped with plasma casters and gravity wave disruptors. The Terrans, by contrast, had no orbital defenses, no visible weapons beyond crude railguns. "We descended in 17 dropships," Tharn said. "The moon's surface was a labyrinth of canyons, their silicate walls jagged and unstable. We split into squads to secure the mine shafts. Within hours, the first squad vanished." "Vanished?" hissed a delegate from the 9th clan. "Explain." "Entirely," Tharn replied. "No distress signals, no debris, just silence. We deployed scent drones. They detected blood, yes, but also a chemical we did not recognize. A Terran invention we later learned. A neurotoxin engineered to mimic Vorrik pheromones, luring our scouts into ambushes. The 2nd squad followed, then the 3rd. My warriors became paranoid, attacking shadows, their own allies." A ripple of unease passed through the conclave. Zeelar's antennae stiffened. "And you?" she asked. "I led a strike team myself," Tharn said. "We entered the mines, expecting resistance. Instead, we found art. Art? A mural, etched into the silica walls. Human figures stylized, abstract, surrounded by Vorrik bodies disintegrating into light. The Terrans had mapped our movements. They knew our tactics before we executed them. That night, as the twin moons of Lyra rose, the attacks began. Not with bullets or blades, with sound." Tharn's voice dropped lower. A low-frequency hum emanated from the canyons, vibrating at the resonance of our exoskeletons. It induced vertigo and disoriented our telepathic bonds. My soldiers collapsed, claws tearing at their own armor. Then came the true weapon. "What?" demanded a delegate. "A child's voice," Tharn said. "Terran young, crying, begging for help in fractured Vorrik speech. We followed it deeper into the mines. It was a trap. The sound was broadcast from a hidden relay. The mine shaft collapsed, burying 300 of my finest. We retaliated, burned the surface with plasma. But the Terrans had retreated underground. We couldn't reach them." Zeelar's staff struck the floor, triggering a seismic boom. "How did you escape?" "I didn't," Tharn replied. "We were extracted. Only 400 of my legion survived. But the humiliation was greater than the loss. We analyzed the neurotoxin. It was synthesized from the moon's native fungi, a resource we had deemed useless. The Terrans transformed decay into death. They didn't fight us. They evolved against us. The chamber erupted into subsonic murmurs. A delegate from the third clan, his shell stained with the scars of 100 wars, leaned forward. They're mere mammals. Why fear them? Zilar's antennae swept the room. Because they make opportunity from void, she said. The Terrans have no hive mind, no shared telepathy, yet they anticipate us. Adapt. That is not weakness. It is chaos made flesh. Tharn's strike team had landed under the assumption of swift victory. Epsilon-9's atmosphere was thin and unbreathable. Its terrain, a graveyard of crystalline spires that could slice through Vorrik armor. The Terrans had no air superiority, no energy shields. But they had ingenuity. The neurotoxin was only the beginning. As the Vorrik scavenged the surface, Terran drones emerged, small, insect-like machines that clung to their exoskeletons and injected nanites into their joints. The nanites didn't destroy, they altered. Vorrik casters began firing at their own ranks. Medics refused orders, their neural pathways scrambled by the machines. Tharn had witnessed his second-in-command, Commander Vex, turn his plasma blade on a squad of engineers. He screamed in Vorrik, but his mouth moved in Terran syllables, Tharn recalled. They'd rewritten his mind. We found the drones later nestled in a crevice, harvesting data from his corpse. The Terrans' psychological warfare was relentless. They broadcasted holograms of Vorrik offspring, the children of the fallen, pleading for mercy. They spliced Terran voices into Vorrik battle chants, creating discordant, maddening loops. The Vorrik, accustomed to unity, fractured. Squads mutinied. Entire platoons self-destructed their armor to escape the hum. And then came the final act. As the Vorrik prepared to retreat, the Terrans activated the moon's tectonic grid, a dormant system originally built to stabilize the mines. The ground split open, swallowing dropships whole. Lava vents erupted, incinerating escape routes. The survivors were forced to flee on foot, pursued by Terran hovercraft that fired magnetic pulses, disabling their exoskeletons. Tharn had limped to the extraction zone, his carapace cracked, his mandibles torn. The Terran sniper who ended the siege hadn't used a rifle. She'd used a modified mining laser, fired through a reflective lens that burned through Vorrik hide at 20 kilometers. They don't just fight, Tharn concluded. They reshape the battlefield. The Terrans see the universe as a puzzle. We are the pieces they rearrange to survive. High Arbiter Zealer rose, her staff vibrating at a frequency that silenced the chamber. The Terrans' unpredictability is their strength, she said. They lack our cohesion, our telepathic unity, yet they thrive in disarray. This must be studied, not scorned. A delegate from the 12th clan interjected. We should embargo their systems, deny them technology, starve their evolution. No, Zealer countered. That would accelerate their desperation. They'd become more dangerous. Instead, we engage, not as conquerors, but as observers. We learn their methods, their philosophy. Tharn's limbs trembled. You propose alliance. I propose balance, Zealer said. They are not a species to be defeated. They are a force to be reckoned with. Respect them, or be erased by their next innovation. The conclave's murmur shifted from fear to contemplation. Some delegates clicked their mandibles in dissent. Others bowed their heads in grudging agreement. Years later, Tharn visited the moon as part of a diplomatic envoy. The Terrans had abandoned their outpost but left behind a final message, a Vorrik skull, fused with silica crystals and inscribed with the words, "We are the storm. We are the Stark. We are the Echo." He understood then. The Terrans didn't fight wars. They fought lessons, and the Vorrik had become their students. As the envoy's ship departed, Tharn glanced at the stars. Somewhere, a Terran engineer was already building the next weapon. Not for conquest, but for survival. The Vorrik would never underestimate them again.